Okay, welcome back all of you. So probably we will discuss for maybe 20 minutes and then probably we can have a break for 1 hour and then we will again continue with our lecture. Okay. So today I would be discussing something related to high level synthesis. Okay. Probably regarding the synthesis, I have discussed at the time of the FPGA. Still, probably I would have a few slides regarding the synthesis or specifically high level synthesis. So, what is basically a high level synthesis? So synthesis which is automatically mapping for a higher level of description to a lower level description. Now probably if you remember where means Neeraj sir has discussed about the Verilog, those who have attended. So at that time he talked about the Gaskey's Y chart where you have a different level of abstraction. Okay. So whenever I will go from a higher level of description to the lower level of description, then probably I will define that as a high level synthesis. Okay, where probably I can go from the gates to a transistor level, where I can consider gates are the higher level and transistor as a lower level. Maybe my VHDL to a gates level, or maybe even I can consider a MATLAB to my HDL level. So synthesis process is important because probably it will increase the productivity, time to market that we actually discuss when we talk about the FPGA, what I mean by time to market. Okay. So when I talk about the synthesis, then there are two type of synthesis are available, architecture level as well as a logic level synthesis. So architecture level synthesis is basically at the architecture level abstraction. Okay, where we have a macroscopic structure. Where in a logic level we are going towards the basically logic, which is a more fine microscopic structure. Where at the architecture level we are talking about the major building block like adder, mux, like that. Okay, where in a logic level we are talking about the logic gates and their interconnection. So what is architecture level synthesis? So basically a synthesis comes into two main flavor. Okay, one is a logic and architecture level. I think that is being covered. Okay, so just to give you some flavor of architecture level synthesis. So maybe I have some sort of simple Boolean expression where it is yn is equal to an into bn plus cn into dn. Okay, where n varies from 0 to some finite value. Consider. So here, basically, if you observe that this Boolean expression, if I want to represent this Boolean expression, then usually in a synthesis process, I would like to express it in terms of the graph. Okay. And in a graph, basically for a data flow graph. Okay. So ultimately, whatever the algorithm is there or whatever a way I can convert this description into the graph level description, then it would be easy to apply any particular concept. That in architecture level synthesis, we will see that there are some scheduling algorithm, there are some resource binding and sharing algorithm. So that we will discuss. Okay. But currently, what we need to understand that if something is given, maybe something description in terms of the algorithm, then how actually we can convert into the graphical level or a graph level representation. So that expression, if you observe that there are two multiplier, one adder, so that is basically represented like this, where it is being defined like that, where here the second is also the same one. Okay, just you observe that one multiplier, one adder. So here what happens that ultimately in original expression I have a two multiplication operation, but the resource that I have is a one multiplier. In a first case where I am considering it is a fast, where I can have a axis of a two multiplier at a time. Okay, so I can run it both at a time, and then I can complete this probably in a one clock cycle where the delay will be the delay of a multiplier plus a delay of a adder. Okay, but now if I have a some constant in terms of the resource, okay, where I can have a axis of a one multiplier, then also I can complete this expression. But the only thing is this multiplication I need to do it, or same multiplier I need to perform, use it for a 2 times. Okay, one for a into bn and another for the c into dn. Single multiplier will also help. Okay, but the problem is that it will take time. Okay, so always in a VLSI there is a conflicting requirement for a speed against the area. So probably in a first case where the speed is high, but the area is larger because the 2 multipliers are there. But in a second case, I have one multiplier and one adder. So that means the resources are less. So area would be lesser one. But it suffers in terms of the time because it will take more time. Okay. So this is I want to convey. So what is the architecture level synthesis? It is constructing the microscopic structure of a digital circuit, starting from the behavioral model that can capture from your data flow as well as a sequencing graph. That means graph level representation ultimately. So what do you mean by sequencing graph? That also I will actually discuss it. Now, in order to explain the examples, I will take one algorithm. Okay, this algorithm is a very well known. Okay, which is for a differential equation. Now, this is for a differential equation. Now, consider that this algorithm is there. If you are not aware of the differential equation, then also don't think about that too much. Okay, just to concentrate over here the steps which is being defined in this particular algorithm. Okay, and this is very important because whatever the example that we will talk about afterwards, that all depends upon this particular algorithm. Okay, so this algorithm is being represented in terms of the some graph. Okay, so that graph we need to understand that how this algorithm is mapping to a graph. So ultimately, as I said, that whatever the algorithmic description that I need to map in terms of the graphical representation, then and then in the architecture level synthesis, whatever the scheduling and binding, it becomes easier for me. Okay, and it will be easier for you also to understand. Now, if you observe this algorithm, then probably it is there is some loop of a differential equation where I am reading some input value. This x, y, u, dx, and a. These are the input value. Okay, so that will I will provide as an input. So when I will write down this as a code in a code, then probably it is my input port. Now, then it is generating the output, which is y. If you observe the last line before the end of the loop, that is a y, that is output. Okay. Now, what is there inside this algorithm? That I am doing some addition, x plus dx. Okay, that is a small differential value of the x. So x plus dx. Then I am generating u of l, which is u minus 3 into x into u into dx minus 3 into y into dx. Similarly, I am generating y, that is y plus u into dx. Then c is equal to x. So that is basically comparator operator. Okay, so that is whatever is being represented as a lesser sign. That is you need to consider as a comparative operator. Okay, now I need to represent this particular algorithm in terms of the graph. Okay, so first of all, I need to define how many operation I have. Okay, because in a particular graph, if you observe that in a graph, there are two things which are important. One is a node, another is a edges. Okay, edges always shows the relation and node is my functional unit. Functional unit is nothing but your operation which you need to perform in your algorithm. So if you observe that this is the algorithm, in this algorithm, how many operation I need to perform? So I am just going to a next slide. So this is just a same whatever is being there in the previous slide. Okay. So only 4 steps I have defined where the operations are there, because operations are important for me because those operations will define the number of nodes in my graph. Okay. Where I can consider one particular operation defines one particular node. So if you observe over here, then what is there? Let me use some interactive tool to so just I would like to highlight something. That's why I am using this one. Mm. Okay. Now, okay, so if I go back to this particular slide where I would like to define the number of operation. Okay, so just pay attention over here. What are the number of operation I have? So if you observe that this is my okay, this is my multiplier. This is another multiplier. This is another multiplier. This is multiplier. This is multiplier. So if I just count that, then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Total 5 multipliers are there. Okay. So one resource that I need to use in order to implement this particular algorithm is I should have a multiplier. Okay. So that I can do the multiplication. Another, if you observe that I have a adder, this is a subtraction, this is again a adder, and this is for a comparison. This is actually a comparison. Okay. So if you observe that how many another you have, this is a another type, this u into dx. Again, this is a multiplication. Okay. So this I am considering as a 6. So total 6 multiplier now. Okay, out of these 4 lines which are important for my algorithm, the 6 multiplication is there, and 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. So total different 5 operations are there, where out of 5, 2 are addition, this 1 and 4, 2 and 3 is a subtraction, and last one is for a comparison. Okay. So if I look at the overall picture, then one thing is I require a multiplication operation. So for that I require a multiplier. Another operation, that is addition, subtraction, and as well as your comparison. Now I am considering that I have a one ALU. Now that ALU can perform addition, subtraction, as well as a comparison. Okay. So I am considering that another resource which is a ALU. Now this ALU is a single resource which can perform addition, subtraction and comparison. Now there can be a different separate resource also. So somebody may think about that. Let's consider a addition. So usually your adder can be also used as a subtractor. Okay, if I use a 2's complement method, then adder can be used as a subtractor, and third one can be a comparison. Okay, but I am following the notation which is actually usual. So this actually I have adapted from one of the famous book for a synthesis algorithm, that is a Miseli. Okay, so in a Miseli they have considered that this addition, subtraction and comparison is all together in a one resources which I define as a ALU. So for this algorithm, I am considering that total 11 operations. Out of 11 operations, 6 are for a multiplication, 5 remaining which is related to addition, subtraction and comparison, where 2 addition, 2 subtraction and 1 comparison. So 6 plus 5, total 11 operations are there. But to perform this 11 operation, I have only 2 resources. One resource is a multiplier which helps me for a multiplication, and another resource is ALU which helps me for a addition, subtraction and comparison. Okay. Now just I would like to represent this in terms of the graph. Now I have identified it. For those operations, what are the resources I need? Okay, so what are the functional unit? So that functional unit now act as a node. Okay, for that particular graph. And there are also some relation that you can observe. Okay, so how I can observe this relation? Now if I look at this particular U1. Okay, so U1 is U minus this and then minus this. Okay, now from this graph, if you observe that this particular U1 part carrying the maximum number of operation. Okay, so this particular line, if you observe that this line itself having a total 7 operation, where 2 subtraction and 5 multiplication. Okay, now if I look at this, if I want to perform U minus this, then probably what I need to do? First of all, I need to have this particular term. Okay, then and then I can consider that I can subtract this u from this term. So first of all, I need to generate this term. Okay, then I can subtract it from u, and whatever this particular term, this I can hold this sub term, whatever is generated as u minus 3 into x into u into dx, that I can subtract it from here. Okay, so there is a dependency. Dependency in what sense? That it suggests that what I need to do first. First of all, I need to do this. Once I have this particular output 3 into x into u into dx, then I can subtract it from u. And once u minus this particular term is there, then from this I can subtract this. Okay. So similarly over here, if I want to do y1 is equal to y plus u into dx, then first of all I need to multiply u into dx. Once this is available, then I can add into y, and then I can generate y1. Okay. So depending upon this relation and dependency, I will draw this data flow graph. Okay. So if you just observe this, that first of all, I am generating 3 into x as well as u into dx. Okay. Now these two I can do it parallelly. Okay. Because there are no dependency between these two. So this 3 into x and u into dx. So this I am defining as a 1 and 2. Now this notation also, if you follow, then it is very good. Okay. So you can get it easily in our example section. So 1 is a multiplier, 2 is a multiplier. So 1 is doing 3 into x, second multiplier is doing u into x. That is for this particular term. Okay. So once I am having a 3 into x and another time I am having a u into x, then what I can do? I can multiply all this together and I can generate this u in, that means 3 into x and u into dx. So if you observe that 3 into x, u into dx, whatever the output is over here, see here in 3 into x is there, u into dx is there. Now if I multiply this through, then this is 3 into x into u into dx. Okay. So once this is being generated, what I need to do? Once this is being generated, what I need to do? It has to be subtracted from u. So at this particular point, u minus this particular term, 3 into x into u into dx. Okay. So once this is available, then this whole will be subtracted from another term. So I am just going back to a previous slide so that you can pay attention. Okay. So what I have done for this particular term, 3 into x, that is with the multiplication 1, u into dx, that is my 2, and this whole together from 1 and 2, this is basically for 3. Once this term is being generated, then I am subtracting from u, and once this whole is being generated, then I am subtracting it from 3 into y into dx. Now again over here, I need to generate this term 3 into y into dx. So for that I require a 2 multiplication operation. Okay. So that means I need to do y into dx first. Once y into dx is there, I am multiplying it with the 3. Okay. Because usually when I talk about adder multiplication, we have a 2 input. Okay. So I cannot apply 3 input and get the multiplication 3 into y into dx. So first I will do y into dx and then I will multiply this y into dx with the 3. So that is the same thing if you observe it over here, that over here what I am doing? I am doing 3 into y over here. Then 3 into y is multiplied with dx. So 3 into y into dx is there. So here I have a term u minus 3 into x into u into dx. So this will go to a subtractor and this ultimately generate my u1. Okay, so u1 is nothing but u minus 3 into x into u into dx minus of this input 3 into y into dx. So that means from this particular part, this particular term u1 is being generated. So this whole term is being generated. Okay, and that is being represented through a graph. Okay, now another thing, That means there are three more terms that I need to take care. One is x plus dx. That means I need to do an addition. Similarly, y plus u into dx. Okay, so that is also another thing. And Excel compare with A. But this Excel I need to generate first. Then I can go for a comparison. Okay, so let's go back over here. So what is being done? That in order to do that, let's consider here. So I am considering that second is a y1 where I require two operations. So basically I am identifying that out of which four line, which line has a maximum number of operation, and I am concentrating on that to completing that. Okay, so u into dx here basically for a y1 I require one adder, one multiplication. So that means I will do first this multiplication u into dx first, and then I will add 2y. So that is u into dx. If you observe it over here, u into dx I have done, u into dx, then probably I am adding it y plus u into dx. So this is my y1, which is my third line. Okay, then probably x plus dx, that is my first line, that is generating xl, and that xl I am compare with A. So this is my final C. That is the last line. Okay, so the only thing that you need to understand that this algorithm, what is there, okay, that is actually being represented in terms of the graphical way. Okay, so here from the algorithm I have identified the number of operation, each operation assigned a node, and depending upon that relation what is being defined inside the algorithm, I have defined that relation also in this particular graph. Okay, that is through edges. I hope so far so good. Okay, now coming back to the next thing, that is a temporal domain, that is a scheduling. Okay, so whenever scheduling I say that, then that is basically for a temporal domain, that is with respect to time. Now this I can consider as a sequencing of the graph also. Okay, in a sequencing of the, why it is defined as a sequencing of the graph? Because I have defined a sequence. What has to be performed first, what has to be performed second, what has to be performed third, and what has to be performed at fourth. Okay, so that is clearly being defined. So that is basically sequencing of graph. Now how you can schedule it, that we will discuss when we talk about the algorithm. Okay, so this is one way of doing a scheduling. Okay, in a scheduling what I am defining mainly, that I am defining a time slot, and in that particular time slot which are the particular operation is to be performed. Okay, along with the whatever the resources I have. Okay, so I am considering the multiplier I am having, and I am having a ALU. Okay, so here in a time slot 1, these are being scheduled. These are in time slot this. So in a time slot 1, 1, 2, 6, 8, 10. So that means 4 multiplier 1, 2, 6, 8. Those are the multiplier, and 10 which I am considering adder, which is nothing but a part of ALU. So 10 is my ALU. 3 and 7 again a multiplier. 9 and 11 is a part of your ALU. 4 is again subtractor, part of the ALU. 5th is again ALU. So this is being scheduled like this. Now how to do this, what are the way to do it, that we will discuss. Okay, but this is a simple example of a scheduling which we are defining in a temporal domain where the time scale is clearly defined. Now similarly another way of scheduling is like this. Okay, where you observe that it is going to a time slot 7. Okay, but here there is a difference between this example and first one. Can you identify? Yes. Yes. Can anyone define that? What is the difference? ये भी एक scheduling है, ये भी एक scheduling. लेकिन difference क्या है? So if you observed over here, this scheduling is, you can consider that where it is being completed as early as possible. That means fastest one. So if you consider this particular algorithm, then this particular algorithm cannot be completed lesser than
time slot 4 because of the dependency and because of the operation we have. ओके तो ये टाइम, ये पर्टिकुलर अल्गोरिथम जो हम डिफरेंशियल इक्वेशन की बात कर रहे हैं, उस अल्गोरिथम को अगर हम फॉलो करें तो ये अल्गोरिथम अगर आप कंप्लीट करना चाहते हो तो उसके लिए मिनिमम आपको 4 क्लॉक साइकिल तो चाहिए ही चाहिए. अभी वो क्लॉक साइकिल का पीरियड क्या होगा, दैट डिपेंड्स अपॉन व्हाट इज द डिले ऑफ ईच एंड इंडिविजुअल ऑपरेशन or whatever the resources that you are using. Okay, but if I consider the number of clock cycle, then this particular algorithm could be completed fastest in a 4 clock cycle, where I am considering that I have an excess of as many resources I can afford. ठीक है, तो इसमें आप देखोगे 4 मल्टीप्लायर और एक एलयू एक साथ में ले रहा हूं, तो इसमें कोई रिसोर्स कंस्टेंट नहीं है. ठीक है, पर मैं इसको सबसे जल्दी 4 टाइम स्लॉट में कर सकता हूं, उससे जल्दी मैं नहीं कर सकता. देयर इज नो वे. अभी ये जो शेड्यूलिंग है दैट इज समथिंग अ रिवर्स वे. ओके, वेयर आई हैव अ कंस्ट्रेंट इन टर्म्स ऑफ द रिसोर्सेज, वेयर आई एम कंसीडरिंग दैट आई कैन परफॉर्म अ वन ALU ऑपरेशन and one multiplication instruction at a time. I cannot perform 2 multiplication or 2 ALU at a time. Okay, so with that, if I try to schedule it, then I can schedule it in a time slot 7. Okay, so whenever I consider a one particular constraint at the time, the second one I would like to achieve as good as possible. That means कि time slot 7 अगर मैं कंसीडर करता हूं तो टाइम स्लॉट 7 में मेरा एक मल्टीप्लायर और एक ALU से, दैट इज द बेस्ट पॉसिबिलिटी. अभी ये टाइम स्लॉट 7, दैट मींस 7 क्लॉक साइकिल से पहले आप कंप्लीट नहीं कर सकते. देयर में भी अ केस कि नहीं ये 7 के बाद 8, 9, 10 में भी कंप्लीट हो सकता है. ठीक है, बट यूजुअली व्हाट वी आर टॉकिंग अबाउट इन ऑप्टिमाइजेशन, व्हेन वी हैव अ वन कंस्ट्रेंट, देन सेकंड which is the secondary one objective, that has to be also minimum. ठीक है, तो फर्स्ट ऑब्जेक्टिव ऐसा था कि भाई मेरे पास रिसोर्स का कंस्टेंट है, तो विद द रिसोर्स कंस्टेंट बट स्टिल विद द टाइम आई वुड लाइक टू अचीव एज मिनिमम एज वैल्यू इज पॉसिबल. ठीक है, सो नाउ देयर आर सम शेड्यूलिंग एल्गोरिथम फॉर दैट which will actually help you to get this kind of scheduling. Okay, now probably if you want a break, then I can maybe take a break of 1 hour or 1.5 hour, because probably yesterday there was a debate that sir, for us 3 hours is too much. Probably I need 1 more hour in order to complete this, or maybe more than 1 hour. Okay, so probably maybe we can have a break as per your convenience. I am suggesting, or I am proposing at 1 o'clock, or maybe right now it's suggesting 12:10. So maybe we can meet at 1:30. There is no issue. Is it okay? I think there are few questions before wrapping up. I am just dictating. Mudit, sir, to simulate a data flow graph, can a binary tree be used? Okay, so binary tree is also one way to actually represent the relation and to express the Boolean expression. Okay, so that can be also done. Probably, if I'm not wrong, maybe means tomorrow Vinit sir would cover it. Okay, otherwise it's maybe we can discuss it if it is not being covered. Okay, just one multiplier use. Yes, very good. So we have used one multiplier and one ALU, and that is the scheduling that we have. Okay, I think few of you are suggesting 1:30. Okay, then probably we can consider 1:30. So probably 1:30, maybe 1 hour or maybe 1.5 hour that we will take to complete the remaining portion of the class. Is it okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Amit,
Okay. Thank you. Then we will meet at 1:30 sharp.
Yeah, Amit, let me take one question which
Okay.
somebody has asked. Mudit Mehra has asked.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, Mudit. So you are asking data flow can be used as a in place of data flow graph, can we use a binary tree? See, there are two differences. A binary tree is a reverse tree. It starts with a root and reaches to the leaves. If I agree with that, I will say that a binary tree will represent the expression. any expression which has only binary operators, which is the case usually, right? So in a way, we can use binary tree for expression representation in fixed notation. So all of you can search how to represent an expression containing arithmetic operations where every operator is binary only, that it requires 2 operands, and how can you make a infix binary tree. Now, when you have made a binary tree of expression, you can invert it, that's all. So when you just have a mirror image of binary tree across horizontal axis, inverted, that usually becomes a data flow graph. Is that okay? Presuming the operands are only, you can say, binary operands. So in case you go for carry save adder or some other kind of operations requiring only data steering multiplexers, then if a multiplexer is not a functional unit anyway, but if you have carry save adder which requires 3 inputs, then it's not a it's not a binary tree in that case. But most of the cases you can always draw an expression tree and invert that to obtain a data flow graph. To that extent, it is true. Yeah, thank you, Amit.
Okay, thank you, sir. So probably we can have a break now, and we will